Hey, Michael. Good morning for me and good evening from you.
Hey, Reed. Yeah, thank you so much. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on today. And I know we've been planning this for a while, so I'm happy to finally get you on and also get you or get some more information about the external tool that you built that I think is going to be really useful for a lot of people.
Definitely. I'm happy to be here. Glad we could make it happen, and
Yeah,
yeah, looking forward. So,
yeah. For some background for the people as well tuning in today, I'd love to get a little bit of background about yourself. I know for me, I forget now. It's lost from time from somebody last year. Mentioned the kind of the helper tool that you built that's really good when it comes to modeling and management. But at that point, I reached out to you. I saw that you're involved with a Microsoft and have been with them for quite a few years now. And I believe you're based overseas. But if you want to give a little background about yourself and let the channel know kind of who you are, kind of what you do, and maybe some information about what we'll be talking about today, that would be great.
yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Michael Kovalsky, and I work at Microsoft on the Power BI Customer Advisory team,
Mhm.
and I'm based in Israel. And as part of the customer advisory team, I focus on advising enterprise customers on their Power BI deployments, focusing on
Mhm.
data modeling, architecture, DAX optimization, performance optimization, DevOps, all that kind of good stuff. And so, as part of that, I uh, I like to design tools and generally things that could be useful for the community to
Yep.
help them learn and help them design more effective reports and more
Mhm. Mhm.
performant models. And so with that, in today's session, we'll be talking about the report analyzer tool, um, which focuses specifically, as the name suggests, on the report and how to how to design a report uh, with performance considerations in mind. So, what are some things
Mhm.
uh, to do in order to design a more effective and optimized Power BI report?
Excellent. Yeah, and it's been something that I've certainly been trying to practice for years, and we've gotten things like the performance analyzer, which helps a lot for that. And uh, one thing that I know just is my 2 cents related to like report optimization is it's I feel like the two number one things that people miss very easily is they put too many unique objects on the page, and it doesn't matter how fast your report is. When you have a ton of objects on a report page, it sadly browses a
Mm-hmm.
single thread, and it just takes forever to load the containers. Or people go ham crazy with tooltips. It's like, oh, I could just throw 1,000 tooltips into a visual. It's fine. Like, well, no, it has to pre-calculate every one of those. It doesn't calculate when you hover. It calculates when you click a slicer selection.
Yeah, you can have a very optimized model, but you can sort of destroy that by creating a report um, that's not designed properly. Whether it's like you said, too many visuals on the page,
Hmm.
or you have like a scrolling report that reports should be just one page, but if you see sometimes you see them, can scroll down, and if you can scroll, it's probably too much content and it should be you know either designed better or broken out into several pages. So,
The
but there's
one
there's lots of
exception
ways
that I've
to.
seen to those is if you're because infographics are often those super tall like little journeys that people sometimes build for like articles, and that's the one exception I would say is like if you have an infographic type thing that literally is kind of like this roadmap that goes down in a really cool graphical visual. That's probably the one time I've seen an actual like interactive Power BI report that's built to look like a cool I don't know, Harry Potter books over the years or something like that type of infographic. But typical reports. Scrolling usually means page two, you know?
Yeah, obviously there's exceptions to every
Yeah,
rule,
yeah,
but you know, if someone's advanced enough to design a Harry Potter themed Power BI report, uh, maybe that's an exception
yeah,
to, you know, most people designing reports that are scrolling. They
yep,
probably have like 100 visuals on the page, and just do the math. It's going to take, even if everyone is fast, it's going to be just taking more time. So,
exactly.
and oftentimes when there's too many visuals on the page, it's just overcrowded, and you don't
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
really get the, the idea. Or, for example, if
Yep,
you have uh, a table with, you know, 50 measures and 30 columns, like, what's the value there? You know, it's just tough to tough to consume. So, and it's slow. So, um,
and
yeah,
there's one last little like aha that and then I think we can dive in to the demo. But there is a recent kind of epiphany moment that I had when I was working with a client on like a way to, because he wanted his report to run faster, and he also wanted a lot of information on the tooltips. I think, you know, each visual he wanted an extra like 15 or 20 metrics, like a card that just gives all this detailed statistical information. But all of his visuals had so many unique categories that it was, you know, just calculating thousands of unique values, tens of thousands probably. So tooltips, the native ones, auto calculate when you make a filter selection. It's part of the query for that visual. Report page
mhm.
tooltips do not calculate until you hover over it. It calculates during the rendering time for the report page tooltip. When I was looking at I believe when I was checking the query analyzer. So in theory, you know, then as a performance optimization, keep all the tooltips off the main page, build a little card, like a multi-row card visual on a report tooltip page, and then none of those calculations will actually happen until you hover over an individual like bar or column on the main page. So you've kind of now separated the two calculations between them as a way to like speed up performance. It still gives you the detailed information, but it will only calculate, you know, each category one at a time as you hover, and then you're passing, propagating the filters back to the report tooltip page. Like it came up
Yeah,
just a conversation, like that's a good video idea. Like how do I show detailed tooltips but not have that impact base performance on a report page?
yeah, that's a really good point. And I mean, you only want to have the engine work when it's actually necessary.
Yep, yep,
So, and that's a great idea. Actually, we'll talk about more in the tool, but
excellent.
could potentially
Yeah,
create like a recommendation which could actually just tell you all the situations and when you could optimize it. So,
yep,
but yeah, great point.
excellent. Yeah, if you want to get started, I can flip over to the desktop share and we can go from there.
Yeah. So just before we get
Oh,
started, I just
sure,
want
sure.
to just want to give it just a brief the purpose of this particular tool.
Hmm.
So
Excellent.
there's really three three main points to that. Uh, the first is I wanted to provide more of a visual interface with regards to performance optimization, and you'll see
Hmm.
what I mean by that when I demonstrate the tool. Second, before this tool, I don't believe that there was a really good way to match visual IDs in log analytics to the corresponding visual in Power BI Desktop. And so when log analytics shows you a visual, like a slow query, you don't really have any way of knowing which visual that was in your report. And so this tool makes it very clear. So, and the
Excellent.
third point is that this tool has a recommendations engine which provides recommendations for optimizing your report performance, not to be confused with the rules in Tabular Editor's Best Practice Analyzer. This is a complementary um, set of recommendations specifically for the report. Tabular Editor's Best Practice Analyzer is for the model. So
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
is just the equivalent, the attempt at the equivalent on the report side.
Perfect.
So
I love it.
yes, yeah. So with that, you know, we can you know get started and
Sure.
show the tool. So
And I will have a question queued up around opening the experience that I'll probably pass to you in just a second once you actually start the initial opening of the external tool.
yeah, sure. So so the tool, once you've downloaded it, and I'm sure you'll provide a link to download it. Um, you can either, so it's an external tool in Power BI Desktop. So if you go to external tools and you have Report Analyzer installed, it will show here. So you can click there and open it. But you can also just open it as you would a regular program. In fact, you don't actually have to have Power BI Desktop open in order to open Report Analyzer. So you can just click on the Start menu, click it, and we now have the Report Analyzer open. Just real quick, if you like dark mode, it defaults to dark mode. But if you like light mode, we have that too. Alex Powers, make a shout out to you
Yeah,
for encouraging me to make light mode.
I have a comment from him right here. It's like, thank you so much for creating a light mode for me. I will say, like,
Literally just for you,
I'm of the
Alex.
dark mode.
Yeah.
I really do like black background and white text. I don't like building reports that way, but when I'm staring at a monitor for 8 hours, it does save my eyes a lot.
I am on your side completely.
Yeah.
I have dark mode for really everything on my phone and computer. So, but we have different folks who like different things. So
Exactly.
hopefully these two options are sufficient. So yeah. So once you load the tool, there's a little bit of homework to do before you actually get started. So we'll just cover that real quick. So the first thing you need to do is go into Power BI Desktop, and Reid, you mentioned the performance analyzer. So you need to run the performance analyzer across all the tabs in your report. Doing this, like, you don't have to do this to use Report Analyzer, but it will give you the most value. So, so if you go to a View and Performance Analyzer, you can start recording and then navigate to each tab. And after you finish, there's a button to export the file. And so you're going to want to export that file, save it down to your computer or a location. And you actually want to save it to the same location, the same folder that houses your Power BI Desktop file. This is very important. So it's going to save as a JSON file format, and you're going to put that into the same folder as the PBIX. Now I should mention that, and I'll show you this is the example that I'm going to be using. So I have my PBIX, and I have the Performance Analyzer file here in the same folder. And so, the Report Analyzer also works with PBIT or Power BI template files.
Excellent.
And you can also have multiple PBIX or PBIT and multiple Performance Analyzer files, like essentially one for each PBX or PBIT. And
so,
Report
and I think that answers
Analyzer
my
will
next.
digest all of that.
Yep. And I was going to say that answers my next question, which would just be does it have to maintain the original name, which is the performance data that it exports? So you can rename
doesn't
that.
have to. You can rename this to whatever you want. Obviously, I would not change the name of. I mean, you could change the name of the PBX too, but probably don't want to. But the name here doesn't matter. It could be blah blah blah, and as long as it's unique. And so the Report Analyzer will probably, if you have JSON files, it will match them to each other. So based on the metadata. So so you don't have to worry about that. It'll take care of it for you.
Perfect.
So now that you have these files in the same folder, then you can really start to use the Report Analyzer. So we'll go to File and select Folder. And we're going to just select that folder that we had opened before and click OK. And so when I was talking about the purpose of this tool being the first point being a more visual interface, you can kind of see that that this shows a Power BI canvas that we had in Power BI Desktop. all of the visuals, they are now shown in the report analyzer, but they are overlaid with performance analyzer data. So we can quickly see, um, Dax query times, render times, row counts for all the visuals in the whole report, and we can navigate across to the different pages and um, see each page in each visual. Um, so you may be wondering why this one visual is red, and so we'll get to that. In the top here we have this threshold called Dax Query Time, and this is where you can set a specific threshold that you determine is sufficient for performance. So you could say, I want to make sure that all my visuals are faster than 2 seconds. The default is 3 seconds, so you can just you can say set this to 2 seconds, and then it will highlight in red all of the visuals that are slower than 2 seconds, that the Dax query time is slower than 2 seconds. And so you can then, it then shows at the bottom that there's actually 3 slow visuals. Slow visual is defined as being over this threshold. So there's 3 of them. There's one on this page. We saw one on this page, and you can navigate and find the third one as well. So, and you can see here that the Dax query time is 3,000 milliseconds, so 3 seconds, so it's over the 2 second threshold. And so like if we make this 4.7 seconds, you can see that it goes to black, so it's no longer applicable. But so whatever threshold we set will highlight the relevant visuals. So there's no kind of guessing, which visual is slow. Like now you can identify that ironically in a visual way. So yeah, so I think it just provides a different experience and a more visual experience. So
I love it.
So if you identify like this is a visual that is slow and you want to go and try to optimize it, you can actually, you'll notice if you hover, you can see a bunch of information, more metadata. But if you can click on a particular visual and it'll copy metadata to the clipboard. So click OK. We can go, let's just take Excel and paste. And we now get just a plethora of rich information about this particular visual. We get the visual ID. We even get the Dax query behind that, which we can take, paste into Dax Studio, and go about optimizing the performance, knowing that this is a slow visual. We can even see things like, does this visual contain a report level measure? Does it use a custom visual? What are all the columns used, measures used, hierarchies used? And it analyzes those things, even if those are columns or measures used in more esoteric places, like used as you can use a measure to define like a title or other like conditional formatting. So it scans and like scours the PBIX or PBIT to find every potential instance of every measure column or hierarchy that's used in a particular visual. And of course, it shows you the Dax query time, the render time, the row count as like traditional performance metrics.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. And like, yeah, the detailed information is really nice, especially to be able to get all this statistical information, and it's very easy to access.
Yeah, try to think of all the useful things that people would want to know, and if there are additional things that you would find useful, feel free to. Actually, you can go to in help. You can either report a bug, suggest a feature. So if
Yep.
you have recommendations that you would like to be added to the tool, feel free to. Would love that feedback.
So I have a question.
So
I do a lot of like report wizardry with text boxes and shapes and buttons, often funneling measures into them. and using like either for a dynamic title or for like the button, it's the it's the text being read. But considering
Yep,
that, I would assume that they both would have technically runtime and Dax Query Time, but I do see that there's no information on
correct.
them. So if I was to add that
Yeah,
to those, would it show up or?
absolutely. So these uh, these are
Oh, there you go, the
very
tooltips.
unsophisticated buttons,
Mm-hmm.
but you can see that like it doesn't show. Um, it shows the render time, but it doesn't show the Dax query time because
Ah.
there's no measure behind that. So um, so if there is a measure behind it, or like a Dax query behind it, then
Mm-hmm.
it will show that. Otherwise, it doesn't. But it still does, show the render time just in as like more of a tooltip here, and you can click it and you can obviously export it just as I did with the other visual. Um, but just uh, to try to not make things so cluttered, I didn't put that on these because generally buttons are much smaller, and to fit all that, it just would look kind of bad. So um, whereas like cards and tables and the regular visuals used for uh, with like measures um, are generally bigger, and so they can actually like this can afford to have this extra 3 rows showing. So um, but you can take any visual and click it and understand export that metadata. So and while we're here, I should also let you know that um, if you're using bookmarks and say you have uh, some visuals that are hidden and only exposed under when you're using certain bookmarks as a common technique, you can click here and you can navigate uh, to to show what other bookmarks would show. So um, you can just drop down. If the bookmark's on a different page, it'll navigate to that page. So um, so you can just use that filter to interact as if you would interact with bookmarks naturally. So that way, all the visuals are exposed, and you even if some are hidden, like you can still find them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
I really like
actually
that. Yeah.
like a show hidden visuals too. So if something's like
Oh,
really hard to find, like you can make it easier to find. Uh,
excellent.
so um, yeah, and just a like basic thing is you can also just say click on visual type card, and it'll highlight in blue all the cards and on all the pages too. So if you go to the second page, you can see there's 3 cards. So and it only shows you the visual types that are actually within this. Just something simple, but um, some folks may find it useful.
Very cool.
So
Love it.
um, okay, so now let's get into some more like sophisticated features. So um, I mentioned the second point of matching log analytics visual IDs to their corresponding visual. So let's demonstrate that. So a great way to optimize performance for your model and report is to analyze the log analytics queries. So which requires you to configure your workspace, your premium workspace to log analytics. If you've done that, then all the queries that your users are generating will appear in log analytics.
Oh,
And
okay.
I can
Nice.
I can show you. I'll show you like essentially what that looks like. So I have um, I have uh, essentially the same report published to the service to my premium workspace, which is connected to log analytics. And just I just ran a few queries earlier today. And if I go to my log analytics account, I can run a basic query, which shows me the slowest queries run against my workspace. And um, so here it shows you things like the dataset ID, report ID, visual ID, and like the visual ID in itself is not particularly useful. And like, how do you know which visual this is? And just looking here, there's no way to know. So let's figure out how to do that. So the first thing here is to know which report you're using. So if we go back here, you'll see in the URL where it says reports slash, this GUID after the slash is the report ID. So it says A83B and blah, blah, blah. So if we go here, we'll see the report ID A83B. So we know it's from this report. And then, we see the visual ID. So let's just take this one here. So 6BED. So this ran in 1 second, which is not bad, but it's one of the slower ones here. So if we go to the report analyzer and we go to Visual ID and we search for 6BED, we'll find it's right here. If we click that, we'll automatically navigate to that particular visual. 6BED, it's this one right here on the first page. So now we actually know which visual is slow.
Yes.
And we also, have the event text, which shows the Dax query, which we can copy out, go into Dax Studio, and optimize it. But optimize it knowing which query, which actual visual it is. Yeah. So I think before this, there really was no good way to do this, and now this removes it enhances the clarity, so you actually know which visual is behind that slow query. And if you're looking to, you don't want to memorize this this Cousteau query here, if you go to the report analyzer on GitHub, the same query is actually located here, which you can just copy and paste into your log analytics workspace. And the instructions are also here. So this just finds all of the essentially query end events, parses out the visual ID, and shows you the slowest queries at the top. So the queries that you want to optimize first. So the goal here is then just to do things in a more intelligent manner. You want to optimize the slowest queries, and you want to know which actual visual on your Power BI report is slow. So and now you know both of those things.
First step is knowledge, right?
Yes. Yes. So knowledge is power, as they say.
Exactly. Yeah.
So okay. So now that we showed that, show the next feature of the report analyzer, which is the recommendations engine. So we can go to Tools, View Recommendations, and here, again, these are recommendations for the report side. I mentioned, Tabular Editor has the best practice analyzer, which focuses on the model side. This is the complement of that for the report side. When you want to optimize the model in the report, you should absolutely follow the best practice rules that we published for Tabular Editor's best practice analyzer, and also, look at these recommendations to improve the report side. So, both should absolutely be done when it comes to, optimizing your model and your report.
Agreed.
So let's kind of, walk through these recommendations. And these are built in, so there's nothing to, like with the rules for Tabular Editor that we launched. You have to run a script or load the rules in. These recommendations are built in, so so they just appear. There's nothing to, and they run based on your particular model, so, or your particular report. So there's nothing to load. They just load automatically. So so these are the rules that we have so far, and we'll kind of walk through them. So the first rule is to remove custom visuals which are not used in the report. Pretty self-explanatory, but there are explanations on tooltips if you need a further explanation. So I definitely suggest reading those. But in essence, with this rule, custom visuals that you have that are not actually used contain just extra weight, and if you can, remove those, it's going to help. It may help. There's no sense in anything that's extra. You want to just kind of cut out. So this identifies some visuals which are not actually used in any visuals in the report. So before I get to the next rule, I want to just highlight, you'll see that this one rule here is in red. And the theme of red here is things that have slow visuals. So a rule that's red means that there's a visual here that is slow, and slow defined by the Dax Query Time threshold. So if we go and open up this particular rule, you'll see that there's one visual, which this is a slow visual. So when it comes to the question of, where do I start? You should likely start with objects that are red, the visuals that are red. That's going to be the actual slow visuals. And the reason why it's slow may be because of one of these violations. So that's kind of where you should start. So, but we'll come back to the second rule here. This is read to your point. So there's a recommendation for this. So that catches this. If you have currently, it flags pages with over 30 visible visuals, and it's visible visuals, not overall visuals. Just because it's hidden, if it's hidden, kind of treat it a little bit differently. Because hidden visuals aren't actually loaded on the load of the page. They can be triggered otherwise. But so 30 is just a number that I've went with. But eventually probably will make this customizable, so you can set it if you want to increase it to 50 or decrease it however you want to. This shows that we have 3 pages with over 30 visuals, and you can see that there's 37 visuals on this page and 38 visible visuals on this page. And just to clarify also this, the objects, so the 3 objects means that there's like 3 items here. In this case, the object is a page. In this case, objects are measures or columns. So this is what I was talking about earlier, is if you have like a table with 30 measures and 20 columns, probably not a good idea. And so this will catch some of those. And so it flags visuals with over 7 objects.
Okay. Yeah.
So
that's good. Yeah. So it's both across.
Like you just don't want to cluster.
Yeah.
You don't want to cluster a table or with too many objects. It can just, 1, it can make it difficult to understand, and 2, it can make performance worse. So
yep.
But I mean, there are cases where it may be okay. As you can see here, it's not making any of these slow, so maybe it's okay. But if you see one of these as red, maybe you want to think about trying to reduce the number of objects. It may help you improve performance. So the next rule is top-end filtering. So this is, the top-end filtering is can be a cause of slow performance. So if you say in a visual, show me the top 15 things where this measure is greater than 0, or etc. That kind of top-end measure filtering can cause performance degradation. So it's not saying don't use it, just be aware
Yeah.
that if something shows up here,
Mm-hmm.
it could be a reason why things are slow. So um, like I said, these are recommendations. It's not like
Well,
hard,
yeah,
fast
exactly.
rules. Like definitely don't do this, but just consider it. It may be something you want to look into if things are slow. So, um, so the next rule is reduce the usage of filters on measures. This kind of goes hand in hand with top-end filtering. It's just not using top-end, but filters on measures, like you can use them, but just be cognizant that they can be more taxing with regard to performance,
Fair.
especially with like
Absolutely.
on high cardinality columns. Like that could easily be problematic. So um, avoid setting show items with no data on columns. So like I think of all the rules, like this one should just always be followed. If you set uh, uh, like if you set show items with no data on columns, and the column that you have in your visual has like 100,000 unique values, then it will show all of those. I mean, like, well, at least it will show probably the top 500 because Power BI is smart enough to do that. But the query that it will generate all 100,000, and if someone scrolls, they'll kind of go through all those 100,000, and it's
Mhm.
um, doesn't really provide much value, I don't think, and it makes the table way bigger than it needs to be. So the performance
Yes.
just goes out the window real fast. So I would always follow that rule, um, or that recommendation, shall we say. So the next recommendation is to avoid tall report pages. This is what we were talking about earlier, is if you have a
Mm-hmm.
Bible that just you can scroll forever, likely that it's a problem. So this just catches those pages. So um, and some folks may not like this one, but uh, you can use custom visuals, but some custom visuals um, may have worse performance than um, standard visuals, and so you just want to be cognizant of that. That
Yes. Absolutely.
that if you can use a regular visual, standard visual, then use it. There are some cases where you just can't, and you have to use a custom visual, and just um, what are you going to do? But just so you know, like custom visuals can reduce performance, and this just informs you of that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then the last one, and this one actually, this is a version of Report Analyzer that I haven't released yet, so this will be coming soon. But this is where this catches where set edit interactions for non-data visuals set to none. So um, set interactions. If we go to Power BI Desktop, um, it is. Uh,
Yeah,
let's
it
click
should
on
be
the
under, you got to
visual.
select a visual first, and then
Yeah,
it should
click
be
the
under
visual, and then
format.
under
I still
format.
don't, I don't
So
like that it's
this
under
is
format because it's not at all a format setting. To me, it's more like yeah, it's something besides formatting, but small
yeah,
grievances.
yeah. It is where it is. Once you know where it is, then hopefully
Yep.
don't change it. But so you can still find it. But um, yeah, so it's here under the format pane. So uh, interactions are generally done by default, and there's three types of interactions: either set to none, set to filter, or set to highlight.
Hmm.
And filtering or highlighting just take more resources, and if they're not needed, then they should be turned off.
Well,
And so
especially as
this
well if
highlights.
if the model is built in a way that like maybe these tables don't actually communicate, so it's still applying a filter. It's not actually changing the data. It's still a performance cost, right?
Yeah, that is not caught by this necessarily. That's a really good point. Um, but uh, yeah, it's anywhere where you don't need to have interactions, you should try to set it to none.
Hmm.
And this looks at opportunities where you could set it to none and nothing really would be harmed. So There may be more that you could do, like that you just mentioned, Reed. Um, but this is a more advanced rule, I guess. But essentially goes to the point that we were talking about earlier. Like, if you don't have to have the engine work, don't have it work. Whether it's regarding those tooltips, the report, or the visual tooltips, or the interactions. You want to have the Parby engine only work as hard as it needs to, and not um, do extra work that provides no value.
Exactly.
So these are the rules that we have so far. If you have suggestions for other rules, we love your feedback. But these recommendations, I feel like, are a good first step for identifying some basic things within your report, which we've now put into code so they can be, automatically scans your report for these particular rules. Just like Tablet Editor's Best Practice Analyzer scans your model for those particular issues, this scans your report.
Exactly, and I mean, I'd say honestly, between this and probably the Power BI Cleaner tool that MK Feldman makes, those are usually the two things. If somebody hands me like very often as a consultant, and I'm sure even within organizations, people get handed a file like, oh, somebody else built this. There's no documentation, but it's slow and it's large, and you need to fix it. What's wrong with it? We don't know, but we know that you need to fix it. This and those are a really good way just to get a quick bulleted like, here's what you can delete from MK's thing, and like here's things that you can tweak and tune really quickly on the report page. It targets your search rather than having to go combing through everything with a fine-tooth comb and just trying to find it yourself. So this does save a lot of time for development, certainly, or just like taking a look at your own reports. And there's times where if I've spent 6 months building an enterprise model, I've still might have maybe missed some columns that, oh yeah, I was going to use that, but then the requirements changed the next day and I forgot to delete it, or just something got missed. I forgot it at an interaction. As far as that goes, so I anytime you can save time, I think is really really useful. So like I appreciate tools like this that help reduce the manual labor from my end for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's the key here. Things that can be automated should be automated. Like the amount of time it would take to check all these things here is a long time, and it's very tedious and boring. And the same thing with the best practice analyzer and tablet editor. Like, how long it would take you to check like a big model for all those rules?
Oh
Take you your whole life. Like,
no,
so
I mean,
good
exactly.
luck. And now it's done for you in a split second. So, like,
I think of all the tools
to automate these things,
Well, I was just gonna say like the number one that saves me for just saving up time, because I absolutely hated back in the day having to go through and figure out what measures, columns, and tables weren't used. It was so painful, and essentially the best way to do that was you delete something and you look at all the pages to see what broke. Like that was literally the way to like reverse engineer and rip things out of a model. And if you have like 30 tables and hundreds of columns, it happens very, very slowly. That's like, all right, give me like 2 days, and I can tell. And so yeah, I very much appreciate cost savings, and it's one of those like, I feel like nowadays with I forget the platform. There's the Buy Me a Coffee like kind of like links that people have now, or anytime one of those tools gets built where there's an option to like throw a few dollars somebody's way who spent a day building a tool that just saved me hours. Like, no, yeah, I want to pay it back, man. You've saved me so much time with my clients. Like, thank you for building a tool that's useful. And I'm glad we have one for the report layer, because I think it's very easy to do modeling, but it's harder to, especially with reporting and design to a degree. There are a little bit of more gray areas sometimes with that, but you boiled it down to performance, which I think is very important. On like, regardless of how it looks, here's performance impacts of X, Y, and Z that you've now chosen to implement on your page, and like with this information, you now have the power to decide, is it worth it? What's the ROI? Is the gain from whatever this, you know, configuration is that I'm providing to the end user, is it worth the payoff of like, maybe 2 extra seconds of calculation time for this page, as an example?
Yeah,
There's a, Go
absolutely.
ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah, there
I
was.
mean, go ahead.
So I
You
had
can,
one comment from someone if that I can
yeah.
throw onto the screen. I just wanted you to give a chance for you to finish your thought if you had one. Okay, I'll put this up then. So Brent just had a mention. Apparently, if you open a report analyzer from the external tools, the menu bar does not appear. If I open it as a standalone app, the menu bar appears just as a. Yeah, you just mentioned the version there. So I would assume you probably want to recommend that he uses the file a bug button in Power BI
Yeah,
tools if people see things like that.
if you have I mean, make sure you're using the latest version.
Mm,
If you find a bug, report the bug.
cool.
Um, make sure that um, you have the performance analyzer file in the same folder as the uh, as part desktop file.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you don't do that, then it won't show you the full menu at the top. So
Ah, okay.
that could be another reason why. Because like if you don't load a performance analyzer file, what is the purpose of having the Dax query time threshold? Like, it doesn't serve a purpose, so why show it? So so I
Exactly.
don't show
Okay.
it.
Okay. No,
So
that's totally fair.
that might be that. But there's no difference if you open it up as an external tool or if you open up like through the start menu.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah. Thanks for the question, Brent. Yeah. Uh, um, but I mean, just try to create useful things so um, that people find valuable. And having been a developer myself and built analysis services tabular models, like and
Yep.
taken this to the extreme of performance optimizations and
Hmm. Hmm.
DevOps, all this kind of stuff, like try to think like what would be useful uh, for a developer. Um, and when it comes to the report layer, like the model gets a lot of love, uh, but the report layer, like you said, it's a bit more ambiguous. Some of these things, um, but and part of that is because the model file has a BIM file which is in JSON format, which is you know has the Tom API, so it's easily um, it's more easy to write code against it, and you have tools like Tabular Editor that allow you to do it in an even easier way. The report layer doesn't have an API, and so I should say that like this is officially unsupported because I had to essentially hack into uh, the bowels of the Power BI desktop file and uh, uh, make sense of all of that. So
Yep.
it's not particularly easy. Would have been easier with an API, but now that I like have this, have a basis or a platform for creating these rules and giving the report layer some more love and um, some more automation for best practices.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, and yeah, I think some of the best tools that I've seen built over these things for the years really have come from individuals who, like, I honestly largely built this for like problems that I was experiencing and then I shared it back out. Like the Power BI side tools from Didi, or like that he built. It's like most of this stuff I built because I needed a tool to do this, and then then I shared it back out with the community. So I do think that when you're that close to the pulse of like the needs of a of a role for certain people, like those are the individuals who usually build those really cool geeky tools that work really well to shorten the hours that they need to spend to do something, right?
Yeah, if you ask Daniel Atakir why he created Tabular Editor, it's for exactly the same reason. So, uh,
Exactly.
um, but like this tool here, the recommendation. So uh, I created this rule that the top end filtering based on a recommendation from one of the Power BI lead engineers, and literally the next day we found that a customer's report was slow, and it was exactly because of the top end filtering. So like, hey,
Okay.
if you had run this this recommendations engine, then it would have told you that. But for them to find it manually, like, I think took a lot longer. So, but so these things definitely apply, and you know, yeah. So curious to see, as more folks use these things, like how they're used, and you know how we can grow to make the rules more intelligent, more sophisticated, and potentially like more rules to um, enhance people's experience with Power BI.
Yeah, and I think you've added a lot, and like again, it's one of my de facto tools, certainly that I like to deploy when I'm doing an audit of, especially of a file that I have not built myself. It saves me a lot of time, so I appreciate that this exists. So thank you a lot from both myself, and then plenty of thumbs up from the people in the chat as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, uh, happy to do it, and hope that it provides value to folks.
I like this comment. The recommendation engine is epic. Is another really good one. A couple of the
Yeah,
good fun
thanks, Brent.
comments. Yeah. Yeah, this has been a really good discussion today. And yeah, like I said, for anybody in the chat, if there are any remaining related questions, specifically to Michael or to this, I'm happy to answer those. I did see one related to like calling an API with a slicer. That's more of just like I'd say kind of, yeah, off in left field question that probably requires some digging. So feel free to ping me on LinkedIn and I can maybe help you out with that. But I probably don't have an immediate answer for that one, so I'll skip that for now. But Michael, otherwise, this has been really great today. I appreciate all the time you taken out for this, and finally getting you on to add one more of the external tools as visibility for the channel. Because my goal in general with this, and I'll switch back over to the main screen here, is I just like to make sure that if for the audience, like they're aware of everything available to help them as as authoring tools, modeling tools, reporting tools. So it's good to continue to build out the ecosystem, give them a more complete list of here's things that you should have installed if you are doing model development on a regular basis.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now there's so many external tools out there, and we have one more, but hopefully it's useful for folks. And as I said before, we love feedback. Folks have already been putting stuff into GitHub with it's feature requests or various issues. I mean, the tool, like, I put together pretty quickly, so expect there to be, if there are issues, hopefully not, but every tool has issues, so, or things that can be added. I definitely can't think of everything, so we'd love for the community to provide any ideas or new functionalities that could be be augmented to this tool. So
absolutely, yeah. And like I said, I think as you were mentioning, quite a few of these tools do grow well and organically when they actually get user feedback, either through GitHub or I have not actually clicked the submit a request button, so I don't know how the interface works, but the people providing feedback like that, I think, really helps to increase the art of possible for a tool, because it's you only have so many ways to look at something you built yourself. You need outside opinions.
yeah, I mean, I've gotten a lot of great feedback from colleagues, folks at Microsoft, some of our customers, and folks in the community. So, I mean, if you go to submit a bug or report a bug or submit a feature, it goes directly to GitHub. And so, I mean, GitHub's a great way to just everyone can be, it's all public, so everyone can share and see and learn. So I think it's a great, collaborative tool. So, yeah.
Perfect. Any closing remarks before we sign off for the day?
I just, thank you so much for having me on the show. And, hopefully people find this tool useful. And so, this is not the only tool that I have. If you go to my GitHub, I have other tools as well, which you can check out, which do different things with regards to tabular modeling and Power BI modeling. So feel free to check out those as well as my blog, elegantbi.com.
Absolutely, yeah, and I just dropped the GitHub link down in that, and all of Michael's links are down in the description below. So be sure to check those out. But otherwise, then yeah, thanks so much for taking time out of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your night, and at some point, yeah, I'd love to get you on again sometime in the future to talk about some of those other tools that you built as well.
For sure, yeah. Thanks so much, Reed.
All right, cheers.
Okay.
Thank you so much for watching. Please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you want to help support this channel, take a look at our channel memberships as well. And last but not least, please consider sharing this video on social media to help pass on this awesome content and to help the channel grow. So until next time.